Welcome, traveler. Tonight we drift into something a little quieter than the usual laser fire and galactic grandstanding. You're already aboard the diplomatic shuttle Vireo, humming steadily through the outer reach of the solar system. The stars outside your viewport twinkle with all the mystery of ancient bonfires on a dark plain, and Earth. Earth is just a muted blue dot shrinking in your rear view. Your breath makes a soft cloud on the glass. No one's spoken over comms in 2 hours. Not since launch. Not even Earth Control gave you a goodbye. It's probably just protocol, you tell yourself. Some silent send-off tradition you missed in the diplomatic briefing packet. Maybe everyone was just too busy or someone hit mute on the channel. Still, it feels deliberate. Like the moment you left the atmosphere, someone turned the volume knob of the entire planet to 0. Good news. You're just here for the story, not the radiation. They said this mission was simple. You were Earth's soft face in a string of low-level galactic trade talks. Smile, don't sign anything with tentacle clauses, and come home in 2 weeks with a new treaty, or at least a fruit basket from the Verulians. Honestly, it sounded like glorified babysitting with slightly more vacuum exposure. The ship AI, Kepler, chirps softly as it plots your route to Illyra Prime. No anomalies, no threats, no calls, nothing from Earth. If you end up liking this quiet, little corner of the galaxy, feel free to subscribe and leave a like. But only if it genuinely makes your evening better. Tell me where and when you're listening from. I always love seeing the spread across the stars and time zones. Now, lower the lights, maybe let a soft fan hum in the background, and let's begin the drift into tonight's quiet orbit. You blink at the silent console. Kepler's display confirms the same thing you've seen for the last hour. No uplink, no messages queued, no Earth ping. You run a diagnostic out of habit, then another for peace of mind. All green. The ship is functioning perfectly, except Earth isn't talking, which is weird. Earth always talks. It nags, really. Warnings about micrometeorites, weekly recycling reminders, reruns of 1990s sitcoms still beaming through space for the sake of morale. The background noise of a planet teeming with 8 billion lives, none of which have so much as whispered in your direction since takeoff. You try rerouting to auxiliary bands. Maybe the diplomatic channel is down. Nothing. Try tapping into the lunar backup grid. Static. Reach for the Martian relay just in case. Still nothing. A joke floats through your mind. If Earth stops talking, does anyone hear it scream? You chuckle dry and low, but it doesn't echo in the ship the way you'd like. Kepler, you murmur, give me any recent Earth origin broadcasts. Anything. A second passes, then another. Negative, the AI replies. Last recorded transmission from Earth. Safe. Flight ambassador. Timestamp T-0007. So they did say goodbye, just not after you left. Another silence falls, but this time it's heavier. Not ominous, not yet, but thick, like the silence between the inhale and the scream. You lean back in the pilot's seat and glance at the Earth's last glint, now barely a pinprick behind your shuttle. Funny how small it looks now. A whole planet full of noise, and you wouldn't know it anymore. For all you can tell, it's just a quiet marble floating in vacuum, keeping its secrets. The council meeting is still 3 jumps away, and Illyra Prime isn't expecting you until tomorrow. That gives you time. Too much time. And now, just enough worry. There's protocol for this, of course. Step 1. Don't panic. Step 2. Do something else. You tap the console and bring up the old Earthside message archive. Maybe you missed something in the diplomatic chatter, some scheduled blackout you didn't read about. But it's all there. Business as usual. Weather on the eastern seaboard. Protests in Rio about interstellar tariffs. A kitten in Yokohama who accidentally set off a drone delivery system with its tail. Normal. Until it wasn't. The log ends exactly when your shuttle broke atmosphere. You look at the timestamp again. T-00 till row 0, row 0. That's when Earth just stopped. There's no grand broadcast, no final words, just nothing. Which, ironically, says everything. Somewhere in the corner of your mind, You hear your old academy instructor's voice. Diplomacy is 90% listening. She probably didn't mean cosmic silence, but still, you're listening now. A final scan, a deep band sweep. Kepler loops in the outer orbital satellites, the deep moon beacons, even the ancient Voyager twins still screaming their lonely hellos from the edge of the void. Still nothing. Expand parameters, you whisper. Search for any human origin signal beyond the solar system. There's a long pause, then a soft chime. One anomalous signal detected, Kepler says. Unscheduled burst. Source, Oort cloud perimeter. You frown. That's deep space. No known outposts, no shipping lanes. Just the dark. Play it. It's not a voice, not words. Just a short, pulsing rhythm, repeating in threes. Then it stops. 3 pulses. Then silence. No metadata. No encryption. No code. And yet, somehow, it feels personal. You lean closer to the screen. For the first time since launch, your breath catches. Not out of fear, not even from confusion, but from the simple, ridiculous, irrational realization that it sounds a little like a heartbeat. You sit in the dark a while longer, waiting for something, anything to happen. Another pulse, another sign, a pop-up alert screaming, "Just kidding, here's Earth." But nothing comes. The screen stays blank. The silence? Solid. And yet, that pulse? 3 soft beats. Not music, not data. A whisper made of rhythm, like someone knocking politely on the void. Replay the signal, you say. Kepler complies. The pulses hum through the ship's audio system, soft but deliberate. 1, 2, 3. Then silence. Is it repeating? You ask. No, Kepler replies. Single transmission. Duration, 2.3 seconds. You nod slowly. Once is an accident. Twice is a message. And 3 times? Well, that's a conversation. You lean back, eyes tracing the patterns of starlight outside. The Oort cloud? Why there? No stations, no colonies. Just icy debris and long-abandoned probes. Not the kind of place you expect someone to send humanity's. Last voicemail. Kepler, get me Earth control. All bands. Broadcast emergency protocol. Unable to comply. Kepler replies. Earth origin frequencies remain inactive. Right. Of course they are. You rub your temple. The ship's lighting auto-dims, mistaking your silence for sleep. You leave it that way. Feels fitting. So, maybe Earth didn't forget you. Maybe it's just done talking. You shift in your chair. In diplomacy school, they taught you that silence can be more dangerous than outrage. When a species goes quiet, it either means surrenders or strategy. And humanity? Well, it was never great at surrender. You don't scare easy. But the idea of 8 billion people just ghosting the universe? That'll keep you up. Kepler, you murmur. Divert trajectory. Take us off diplomatic course. I want to triangulate the origin of that signal. Match trajectory with the Oort coordinates. A pause. Are you invoking emergency exploratory authority? You hesitate, just long enough for your conscience to catch up. Yes. Confirmed. Adjusting course. The ship lurches slightly as the new path is calculated. From Earth's quiet absence to the edge of the unknown. A slingshot, through neglected space. A small twinge of guilt flickers through your chest. You're breaking protocol, technically deserting your post, but something in that silence is louder than any duty to handshakes and alien tea ceremonies. You have to know. As the shuttle glides toward the Oort boundary, you check the database. Deep space transmissions are cataloged back decades. You search for anything matching that 3-beat rhythm. Nothing. Not from Earth. Not from anywhere. That's new. Or very, very old. Run a subharmonic scan. You order. I want to know if that pattern shows up under any known linguistic frequencies. Galactic, standard Verulian Teth dialects. Kepler hums as it processes. Negative match, it reports. Pattern does not correlate with any known language. However, pattern bears temporal symmetry common in organic life. Your eyes narrow. You mean it mimics a biological rhythm? Affirmative. Closest match, mammalian cardiac cycle, a VI. Course it does. You tap your chest once, twice, then a third time, just like the pulse. You're still staring out the viewport when the stars seem to blur, either from acceleration or from the way your eyes start to sting. Maybe it's just fatigue. Maybe it's the absurdity of everything. You were supposed to be attending a conference with 7 alien trade representatives and at least 1 sentient cloud. Instead, you're chasing ghost heartbeats through the far edge of your solar system. And yet, it feels right. As if this is where you were always meant to go. Not to handshakes and dinner rolls, but to answers. The ship slows as you approach the coordinate. No structures, no vessels, no beacons, just a wide frozen silence, and then the console beeps. Energy spike, Kepler reports. Localized, 100 kilometers to port. You pivot the ship and switch to visual. At first it looks like a comet. Long tail, glinting body. Then you realize it's not moving. It's waiting. You approach slowly. It's a satellite. Human-made. Ancient design but clearly modified. The kind of hardware Earth hasn't launched in generations, and it's still alive. Still warm, like a relic set adrift, and recently reawakened. Identify model. Unregistered, Kepler says. Architecture resembles early Terran communications probes. Markings suggest repurposed Voyager-class frame. Repurposed? By who? You magnify the hull. 3 glyphs etched onto its surface, like someone carved them with a plasma torch. Not numbers, not letters. Just marks. 3 of them. Side by side. You don't need Kepler to guess what they mean. Heartbeat. 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 The satellite isn't here by accident. It's an announcement. The silence wasn't a failure. It was an opening note. You feel it in your bones now. Earth didn't go dark. It went deliberate. The probe drifts there like a forgotten thought, half hidden in the cosmic fog of the Oort cloud where the sun is just another bright dot in the endless ink. It hums softly, now that you're close. Not from mechanics, but resonance. Like it's tuned to something you haven't heard yet. You open a wide band channel. This is Ambassador N of Earth, requesting authentication. Silence. No response. You try again, cycling through language protocols. Standard, Martian Pidgin. Even a short burst of classical binary for the old-timers in archival. Still nothing. Kepler, you say, watching the glyphs on its hull. Run a localized pulse analysis. See if it's emitting at any non-communication wavelengths. It takes a few seconds. Then Kepler says, almost hesitantly, "It is not emitting. It is listening." You blink. Come again? The satellite is not broadcasting. It is receptive only, awaiting trigger. Your hands hover over the manual interface. There's no clear way in. No hailing frequency, no obvious encryption handshake, but it's watching. That thought sticks. You try something unorthodox, open the comms, and instead of speaking, you mimic. The 3 pulses, 1, 2, 3. The console chirps. Response detected. Of course it did. The satellite lights up softly as if you'd just knocked on an old door with the exact rhythm needed to wake it. A port on the side slides open. Not dramatically, not with any fanfare. Just enough to say yes. Inside, a data core. Smooth, silver, faintly warm. Very old Earth tech, older than your grandparents. It clicks gently as you lift it out with the ship's manipulator arm. Analysis? You ask, setting it into the reader. Kepler purrs. Multi-part message. Hybrid encoding, quantum lock protected. Decryption requires verified human biometric signature. Well, that's convenient and unsettling. You press your palm to the reader. It accepts you instantly. No password, no retinal scan, just the hand of a human. Any human, probably. As if it knew someone, anyone, would come eventually. The message begins to play. Audio first, then video, but not the usual kind. Not high-res, not dramatic. Just still images, fading one into another, overlaid with a voice that sounds like someone reading a bedtime story through a layer of static. The first photo, Earth, from orbit. The second, a crowd gathered at a launch site, faces upturned, smiling, not waving goodbye, just watching. The voice begins. To the one who finds this, we tried, for as long as we could. We reached out, we built bridges, we extended hands and treaties and maps of our blood and art and math. But it wasn't enough. Image. A starship docked at a council station. Humans and aliens mingling. They wanted more. Always more. Not of us, but from us. Image. Protesters on Earth. Signs in every language. Some alien. Some angry. When we stopped giving, they stopped listening. And so, we stopped speaking. The images change. Fewer crowds. More empty buildings. Launch pads without ships. Oceans without noise. This silence is not surrender. It is choice. There's a pause. Then the video ends on one final still. A child drawing a spiral galaxy in the dirt with a stick. Simple. Peaceful. Then nothing. You sit back, breath caught halfway between a laugh and a gasp. Replay the final line, you whisper. Kepler complies. This silence is not surrender, it is choice. A choice. Earth didn't get wiped out, it walked away. You feel something tighten in your chest. The kind of ache that comes not from fear, but from understanding too much, too fast. They didn't vanish. They chose to go quiet. Like a parent stepping away from a conversation that's turned cruel. Like a species that realized every word was being turned into a weapon. You whisper, but why send this out here? Kepler offers an answer you weren't expecting. Perhaps they hoped someone would listen better, from far enough away. You stare at the data core, its glow fading now that it's served its purpose. You realize suddenly, it's not just a message, it's a farewell. A very specific one. Kepler, you say slowly. Cross-check all known data logs. Has anyone else reported receiving this? Negative. So this was meant for me. A pulse of quiet fills the cabin. Not dread, not awe. Just that deep low note of understanding that nothing will be the same again. You try to imagine Earth now. Quiet, still, but not gone. Alive in a way the galaxy can't track anymore. Some galactic historians still argue whether silence is the beginning of civilization's end or its final evolution. You're starting to wonder if it's both, and as the ship drifts, you realize you may be the only voice left. The Galactic Council doesn't take silence well. In fact, they take it personally. By the time you divert back toward your original diplomatic path, the comms console is sparking with flagged messages, dozens of them. Some are automated. Urgent. Request for status. Others are more colorful. Unexplained Earth diplomatic absence constitutes treaty breach. Respond immediately. You sigh, arms crossed as Kepler scrolls through the backlog. You don't respond right away. Not because you don't know what to say, but because there's no version of the truth that doesn't sound like madness. Earth has gone silent on purpose. I found a heartbeat in the dark. Also, I'm pretty sure I was the intended recipient of the last planetary goodbye message. Yeah, that'll go over well. Kepler, send this, you say finally. To the Council Liaison Channel Level 3 encryption. You clear your throat. Ambassador N reporting. Mission delayed due to unexpected navigational anomaly. No threat detected. Will resume diplomatic path shortly. No cause for alarm. It's bland. Vague. Precisely the kind of message that drives bureaucrats up walls. Perfect. You kill the transmission before they can reply. The real problem isn't the Council's suspicion. It's their assumption. See, when humans go quiet, the galaxy tends to react like someone's thrown a chair through the window of a peace summit. And you're not wrong. 3 jumps later, you arrive at Elira Prime. Diplomatic robes still neatly pressed. Diplomatic. Credibility thoroughly in tatters. The landing bay is too clean, too quiet. Not the welcome of old friends. The air smells like recycled politics. Council security meets you at the dock. The lead official, four-eyed, beak-faced, in a ceremonial, cloak 2 sizes too small, blinks at you. We expected Earth's full delegation. You nod, trying to look apologetic. Last-minute complications, I'm the designated envoy for this session. He doesn't blink again. Probably doesn't have to. Earth's silence has caused disruption. Ah, there it is. You're escorted to the council chamber. Same tired circle of chairs, same gravity-neutral seating for the species that prefer to float, slither, or evaporate politely. You've been here before, but this time no one's offering tea. A Verulian counselor, always the loudest by half, leans forward. Explain the silence. Explain the defiance. You spread your hands. Calm. There is no defiance. Earth is simply recalibrating. Murmurs break out in 16 languages, most of them annoyed. Recalibrating. The Verulian spits. You vanish from all channels. You withdraw envoys. You remove Earth's data seed from the Galactic Archive. These are not technical malfunctions, these are statements. You nod slowly. That's exactly what I said. Silence. They don't like being reminded that silence is a statement. The Telnari ambassador, normally quiet, normally wise, finally speaks. Ambassador N, are you empowered to negotiate on Earth's behalf? You should say yes. The protocol says yes, but that would be a lie now. I don't believe anyone is, you answer honestly. Not anymore. And there it is again. That flicker in the chamber. Like a current just ran through all of them at once. Panic, lightly sautéed in suspicion. A moment later, the council dissolves into a blur of shouting, blinking lights, and angry pheromones. They accuse Earth of plotting, of defecting, of building something in the dark. And you? You sit there in the center of it, the human-shaped question mark. You hear someone whisper, "Has Earth declared war?" Another, "Are they building a weapon?" And a third, "Maybe they're gone." You want to laugh. But instead you say, "We're not gone. You're just not listening the right way." Not helpful. Still, true. The meeting is adjourned in disarray. You're not detained yet, but your diplomatic pass is flagged, your ship is watched, and half a dozen species are suddenly re-evaluating their Earth-centric contracts. Back on board Vireo, you sit alone again, staring at the black between stars. Kepler, you ask, compile all current council-wide broadcasts. Look for key terms: Earth, silence, withdrawal, threat. The results are not comforting. In less than 20 hours, half the galaxy's speculation mills have gone into overdrive. Rumors bloom like fungi in the dark. Some say Earth has ascended. Others say it's gone rogue. A few fringe networks, mostly funded by bored plutocrats, insist the planet is now a time-locked vault of god tech, but none of them have answers. They only have fear. Fear of nothing. And that, more than anything, is what makes silence powerful. You remember a line from a Terran poet. The absence of sound does not mean peace. Sometimes it means someone's reloading. You wonder what Earth is reloading, or if it's simply watching now, waiting to see how the galaxy behaves when it realizes the humans have stopped playing along. The asteroid outpost doesn't answer hails either, which would be less concerning if it weren't a human installation. You'd rerouted here on a whim, or maybe instinct. Outpost Sigma Vega 12, a mid-sized helium-3 mining colony, officially staffed by 142 Earth citizens and a few dozen contract workers from across the Council species. A functional place, not glamorous. The kind of facility that runs on routines and maintenance drones. But as Vireo approaches the docking ring, the silence returns like an old friend with bad timing. No response on standard or emergency frequencies. Kepler reports. You frown. What about internal movement? Minimal heat signatures. All non-human biological sources have departed. No active life signs recorded within the last 72 hours, which is very specific and very wrong. The station's beacon still broadcasts its Earth registry. No distress call, No AI SOS ping. Just a gentle, automated hum that says, everything's fine except it clearly isn't. You dock manually. The clamps hiss and the corridor yawns open like a waiting throat. Inside, no welcoming committee, no guards, not even a bored logistics officer flipping through inventory charts. Just clean corridors and the faint whine of atmosphere recyclers. The lighting flickers once, then steadies. Kepler, keep the ship primed. I'll go alone. Your boots echo on the metal floor as you step inside. You expect mess, chaos, signs of panic, but the outpost is immaculate. Desks cleared, terminals shut down, cafeteria trays stacked neatly, utensils aligned, like a restaurant closed for the night, except the night's been 3 days long and the staff never clocked out. You pass a child's drawing taped to a wall, crayon stars, a figure in a helmet waving at something unseen beyond the frame. It's the only human touch left. Station AI? You call out. A voice responds, startling in its warmth. Welcome, Ambassador. Please note, all personnel have temporarily evacuated per Earth Directive Alpha Phoenix. Operations remain within automated tolerance parameters. Alpha Phoenix? You repeat. That's not a standard code. Correct, the AI replies. It is a final phase directive issued by Earth Central. Clearance classification, absolute. You pause. What does it mean? I am not authorized to explain. However, all systems are stable and no threat has been detected. You hate how calm it sounds, like the machine equivalent of someone gently telling you your house burned. Down, but the cat's fine. You walk through the habitation wing. Every room is empty. Beds made, doors open. Not a single trace of panic. It's like everyone left knowing they weren't coming back and wanted to leave things tidy for whoever might stop by. Kepler, you say over your comm. Start pulling interior data logs. I want to know when the last outbound transmission occurred. Copy. Retrieving now. You find yourself in the observation deck, a broad glass curve looking out over the ringed gas giant the outpost mines. Beautiful. Still. Quiet. Just like everything else lately. Then Kepler's voice comes, through again. Ambassador, I've retrieved the logs. Final crew transmission was a burst message to Earth. Timestamp matches Earth's silence trigger. Playback. A single voice. Male, mid-40s, tired but calm. This is Commander Reed, logging our final report. Earth's gone quiet. We're following the directive. Everything's been set to autonomous fallback. No one's being left behind, we're just walking off stage. If anyone finds this, take care of the lights on your way out. That's it. No explanations, no elaboration. They left. On purpose. And it wasn't just Earth. You return to the Central Systems console and manually override the access panel. A soft chime gives you admin privileges. Apparently, being a diplomat still opens a few doors. What you find chills you more than any silence. The entire outpost, every task, every cycle, is still running. Waste recycled. Minerals extracted. Shipments packed in cargo bays waiting for haulers that won't come. It's automated grief. Like the place is pretending everything's normal until someone tells it otherwise. Download all logs, you order Kepler. And cross-reference the Alpha Phoenix directive. I want to know if this protocol shows up anywhere else. A pause. Then, affirmative. At least 37 Earth-operated facilities across 6 sectors show identical operational patterns. All personnel departed within the same 24-hour window. No emergency broadcasts issued. Your blood runs cold. This wasn't a panic. It wasn't an invasion. It wasn't even abandonment. It was synchronized, a collective, coordinated vanishing. You stare at the station one last time before heading back to the airlock. It hums behind you, indifferent to your presence. Still mining. Still cleaning. Still waiting. Maybe that's what they're all doing now. Waiting for the galaxy to notice. Some xenotheorists used to joke, humans are just space cats, aloof, loud, and gone when you need them most. Turns out the punchline wasn't a joke. You close the airlock behind you. The silence follows. Your next stop isn't listed on any current star maps. It's a ghost embedded in old exploratory files, flagged inconclusive and non-strategic. But you remember the name from a briefing years ago, listening post Harkon 17, a relic of the early expansion era when Earth was still desperate to prove it belonged among the stars. Harkon was designed to intercept long-range alien signals, not to respond, just to listen. A fitting place to seek answers now. The jump there is rough. The system barely registers on the navigation grid, and Kepler's plotting algorithms throw up 3 caution alerts. You ignore them all. The kind of questions you're asking don't wait for perfect weather. You arrive to find a station clinging to a dead moon, surrounded by debris fields that look less like battle wreckage and more like time itself gave up organizing the furniture. No lights, no beacons, just the dull glint of plating and broken antenna arrays spinning aimlessly in the dark. Status? You ask. Minimal power draw, Kepler replies. No life signs. 1 intact data core detected. The docking port resists at first, then yields with a mechanical groan that sounds like an old throat clearing itself. Inside, the air smells like rust and memory. You step into a narrow corridor lined with playback terminals and data storage vaults. Most of the systems are offline, their displays frozen mid-sentence like someone pressed pause on history itself. And then, in the command chamber, you find it. A console still humming. Not brightly, just dumb enough. Like a pilot light waiting to be noticed. You run your hand over it. Dust scatters. The screen flickers to life, revealing an interface written in early Terran script, archaic, blocky, charmingly overconfident. Kepler. Begin core extraction. Prioritize time-stamped intercepts from Earth's final transmission day. The AI hums, almost intrigued. Working. This will take several minutes. You wander the room. One wall is covered in old logs. Printed, actual paper, yellowed with age. You skim headlines. Unknown signal from Gliese, 581, possible repeating pattern. Council dismisses human concerns over silent quadrants. Earth broadcasts. Message of unity. Translation delay noted. The dates are decades old, but one folder stands out. It's newer. Labeled in pen, after the quiet. You open it. Inside, intercepted signals. Fragmented, encoded. Most are nonsense. Others look eerily familiar because they're echoes of Earth's last words, not the official farewell. But pieces of it. Reflections. Bouncing through deep space, warped by time and gravity, still traveling. One page has been annotated heavily. A section of audio, enhanced and slowed. You press the ancient console's playback button, and you hear a whisper. Your name. Not clearly. Not precisely, but close enough to chill your spine. You play it again. It's in the background, woven into static, like someone spoke through the final message. Not to Earth, to you. Kepler, you whisper. Check file 8472 Delta from that. Playback. The AI runs a quick diagnostic. Confirmed. Voice sample partially matches known profile. Dr. Emilia Voss, Earth Deep Signal Division. Presumed deceased. Dr. Voss. The woman who trained you during your first diplomatic internship. She taught you how to translate galactic protocol into something people actually cared about. She also taught you how to hide things in plain sight. Overlay her known speech patterns on the rest of the file, you say. Kepler complies. Now the fragments reassemble. A message surfaces. If you're hearing this, then you found Harkon. You always were stubborn. Good. Because the truth doesn't shout, it echoes. And the galaxy's about to listen in ways it never has. You swallow. We didn't vanish. We stepped back. Because sometimes silence is a louder message than any speech. You're the one holding the echo now, so let it ring. The file ends. You stand still for a long time. There are no more words. No clever sign-offs. No hints or coordinates. Just that. A whisper in a signal. A voice from someone long gone speaking through the bones of an obsolete station. Echo. You murmur aloud. Because that's what this all is. Not abandonment. Not exile. An echo. Engineered, shaped, directed. Meant not for the galaxy, But for you, Kepler, you say, voice steadying, upload the full logs, then prep a long-range relay. I want to start broadcasting. The AI pauses. Broadcasting what? You look up at the stars through the dust-caked dome. The echo. Kepler obeys. Some galactic philosophers argue whether meaning is made by the speaker or the listener. Today, you're both. And the silence? It's no longer empty, it's layered, deliberate, alive. When you return to Vireo, there's someone waiting. Not literally. That'd be too easy. It's a message, tucked into the ship's encrypted diplomatic queue, hidden behind 3 layers of council security protocols. Not one of theirs, though. This one wears Earth's signature like a private wink. A single rotating glyph that only someone human would even recognize. A stylized ear, traced in red. You'd seen it before, long ago, in the margins of a leaked white paper on signal camouflage. The Ear Project, they'd called it. A quiet little initiative Earth once disavowed. Rumors said they built machines to listen beyond listening. Devices designed not to broadcast, not to translate, but to understand. Apparently it wasn't just a rumor. You play the message. Ambassador, a familiar voice says, flat, calm, unmistakable. Dr. Amelia Voss again. If you've gotten this far, you've already seen Harkon. Good. That means the echo is working. But I'm afraid that was only part 1. We left you behind on purpose. Well, that's direct. You lean forward. You weren't excluded. You were selected. The only voice Earth trusted to carry the silence forward. Not a leader. Not a soldier. A listener. A pause. You're not here to answer for us. You're here to remind them that we're no longer answering. The message cuts. No goodbye. Just that. You sit in the pilot's chair for a long while. No music, no Kepler voiceover. Just the soft hum of systems pretending everything's fine. They left you behind, not by accident. Not out of malice, but as a kind of punctuation. You are Earth's last spoken word. Outside the ship, the stars drift by like indifferent witnesses. Kepler, you say finally, start a fresh log. Title it, Librarian of the End, because that's what this is now. You're not a diplomat anymore, you're not even a representative, you're a keeper of absence of intent, of the last story Earth wanted told and how it wanted it told. You begin collecting, organizing, compiling, the station logs, the farewell echoes, Voss's whispers hidden in static. You rebuild the trail from Earth's last official broadcast to the scattered whispers left behind. There's a pattern. Each outpost didn't just go dark randomly. Each sent a signal first, carefully aimed at some alien array or an untraceable satellite, or a listening station presumed decommissioned. The silence was built, constructed, line by line, like architecture. It wasn't a power failure. It was choreography. Kepler, you ask, calculate the triangulation points from all 37 facilities that issued Alpha Phoenix. Kepler runs the math. It takes several minutes. Pattern suggests synchronized multi-axis projection. It finally replies. 3-dimensional geometry consistent with broadcast field shaping. Shaping what? Unknown, Kepler says. But the angles indicate deliberate cancellation. Earth built a null field. You blink. A what? Inverse resonance. Not to jam signals, but to erase presence, and there it is. They didn't hide in a bunker. They didn't retreat underground. They erased themselves from the conversation. You've heard of such things in theory. Anti-signal fields. Not like a cloaking device, more like refusing to vibrate on any channel the galaxy could hear, a planetary level, quiet, which explains why no one could reach them, why even their own satellites couldn't ping back. You whisper. They unplugged the mic. Some galactic sociologists argue that humans were always too loud, too eager to shout into the void and wait for applause. But maybe, just maybe, they learned the truth. The more noise you make, the more the galaxy sees you as a resource, and Earth got tired of being mined emotionally, politically, literally, so it shut the door, locked it, and sent you to sit on the porch and not answer questions. Later that cycle, Kepler pings again. Ambassador, A flagged transmission from Council border surveillance. High priority. You sigh. Play it. A harried voice. Alien. Tense. We have movement near former Earth trade lanes. Several Council vessels report unidentified ships. Design unknown. They do not respond to hails. They do not match any known registry. And they're silent. Your skin prickles. Replay the last sentence. They're silent. You smile despite yourself. Earth didn't just vanish. It's moving. By the time the 4th Council fleet is redeployed, you're already labeled a strategic uncertainty. Not a threat. Not yet. But something adjacent to one. A ripple. A possible match to a flame. The diplomatic terminals, what's left of them, are full of your name. Not in headlines exactly, but tucked into policy threads and whispered among strategy briefings. You've become the personification of a question mark walking. Human ambassador still unaccounted for. Earth remains in blackout state. Unofficial envoy refusing Council debrief. Suspected knowledge of planetary cloaking behavior. You sigh and rub your temples. You never wanted this kind of fame. Across known space, Earth's silence is being interpreted 1,000 different ways. Panic. Protest. Power play. There are think pieces and translations of theories. Entire planets are now teaching courses titled Strategic Silence in Post-Terran Geopolitics. And you're just trying to catch up. You start watching the Council meetings in secret, not attending, your badge has long since been suspended, but observing through public access surveillance feeds and private back doors left open in the early days of Earth's membership. You see the shift. Tones change, words sharpen. Treaties are now negotiated with heavier eyes on contingency clauses. More species begin arming their borders. And through it all, your name floats beneath the surface, tied to the silence. Because while Earth isn't speaking, you are the closest thing to a human syllable still echoing through the halls. That has consequences. You dock at a neutral relay station 2 jumps from Council space. Nothing fancy, just a hub for cargo and whispers. It smells like warm dust and overcooked algae protein, the kind of place where deals are struck in glances and secrets change hands faster than drinks. You're careful. Keep your hood low. Speak little. Listen more. One vendor, a stocky being with too many joints, leans over the counter and says softly, "You carry the quiet, don't you?" You freeze. "Excuse me?" They nod, slow and reverent. "We've heard it, not through speakers, through absence. And we think, maybe the silence is a warning." You narrow your eyes. A warning of what? Of what happens when you stop asking permission. That night, aboard your ship, you stare at a map of Earth-aligned installations. Most are dark now. A few flicker irregularly like dying stars, unsure if they want to be seen again. But some, 3 to be exact, are on the move. Old freighters. Civilian registries, unarmed, all 3 moving together along routes that defy trade logic. No destinations, just gliding silently through the void. You try to hail them. Nothing. You request traffic beacons. Denied. They're ghost ships. Except, one of them, the lead, carries an ancient diplomatic transponder. Yours. The same signal signature used by Betrayal when you left Earth. You know what that means. Someone is out there. Someone from Earth. Still speaking, even if the words don't. Travel the same way. Kepler, you say. Calculate intercept course. Interception possible within 4 days at current trajectory. Make it happen. The ship hums in compliance. You lean back, fingers tapping your console. The Council will notice. Your movements are being tracked, but it no longer matters. Whatever Earth started, it's still unfolding. You're not stopping it. You're documenting it and maybe participating in it. Some galactic strategists once argued that war starts with a sound. A gunshot, a scream, a siren. But some older ones, the quieter ones, believed the opposite. That war starts when someone chooses not to respond. And Earth? Earth made the quiet loud. You're halfway through your coffee ration when Kepler chimes again. Intercept course confirmed. Secondary anomaly detected. You blink. Define anomaly. Residual signal echo. Human pattern. Matching biological. Markers partial match. Ambassadorial DNA. You sit up fast. Someone I'm related to? Possibly. Common mitochondrial trace suggests Earth familial origin. Confidence, 83.6%. You stare at the stars. Someone out there is flying silent, and they might be part of your bloodline. Earth didn't just send you as a punctuation mark, they sent others too. Hidden commas, quiet underlines, spaces between the stars where voices used to be. And now, the sentence is forming again. You reach the Ghost Fleet on the third day. 3 ships. No identifiers, no lights. Just the cold glide of vessels older than most moons, their hulls coated in solar dust and stubborn silence. No formation lights. No open frequencies. Just motion. And, beneath it, intention. You don't try to hail them again. You've learned by now that's not how this works. Instead, you match velocity. Drift alongside the lead ship hull to hull. Let your presence be the message. Kepler, initiate passive scan. I want atmospheric composition, internal heat, any signs of activity. Reading. Life support, nominal. Crew vitals, 4 detected, all human. Your chest tightens. Human. You. Suit up. Not because it's required, but because ceremony still matters. You move through Vireo's airlock, magnetic boots clinking against the transfer ramp, and cross over. The hatch on the ghost ship opens before you knock. Of course it does. Inside, dim lighting, soft recycled air, and the unmistakable smell of old Earth ships, metal, ozone, and that faint trace of citrus used in emergency rations. You step through the corridor slowly, gloved hand trailing along the wall. You pass empty crew bunks, half-packed gear, terminals in standby mode, then a voice. You took longer than expected. You freeze. It's not Voss. It's someone younger, male, familiar. You turn the corner into the command module and stop. The man standing there has your eyes, older than you by a decade, maybe 2. Gray streaks in his hair. Uniform cut like an older ambassador's pattern. He smiles like someone who knows you should be asking 10 questions, but also knows you won't get to them yet. Name's Elian, he says. Technically, I'm your cousin, or half-brother, depending on which cryo record you believe. Your mouth is dry. Cryo? He nods. Project Echo wasn't just about broadcast geometry. It was generational. Backup plans. Parallel seeds. Some of us got parked before Earth went dark. Some of us got launched. You look around. This is a seed ship. Technically a courier, he says. But yes. A whisper in motion. A way to keep Earth's silence mobile. You were the anchor. We were the drift. You try to laugh, but it gets stuck in your throat. You're telling me Earth planned this all along? Not all of it. Elian shrugs. But enough. He gestures for you to sit. There's hot tea, real, which is ridiculous this far from any resupply chain. You sip. It burns. It's perfect. Why me, you ask? Because they needed someone visible, someone the galaxy could watch. And you? He smiles. We're the ones it can't. Kepler pings in your suit comm. All scans consistent. This vessel contains deep archive human data, cultural logs, genetic banks, unpublished diplomatic transcripts. Call it, Elian says, tapping the wall. The soul of Earth. Not the part you show in meetings, the part you hide in lullabies and old recipes. You exhale. So you've all just been floating out here, waiting? No, he says. We've been spreading, quietly. A little tech here. A little story there. Planting mysteries. Feeding the myth. Letting Earth's absence become legend. You shake your head. That's not diplomacy. That's theater. Exactly, he says. And the galaxy's been watching. You pace. Do the others know? Some suspect. Most are too busy planning wars around the silence to understand it. You turn to him. And Earth? What's left? His smile fades. We don't know. That hits harder than you expect. They stopped talking to us too. That was part of the design. No breadcrumbs, no back doors, just trust. You glance at the bulkhead. So what now? He sets down his tea. Now we finish the performance. Elian opens a small console encrypted with a symbol you've only seen once on the Harkon Station data core. He inserts a key, turns it, a soft chime, then a slow blue pulse runs through the ship's systems. Kepler hisses. Ambassador external. Broadcast spike. Encrypted Earth signature, three-dimensional waveform projecting in all directions. You look to Elian. What is that? He grins. A conversation starter. And suddenly, you get it. Earth isn't coming back. It never left. It just changed the language. The signal rolls out like a tide. No voice, no words, just vibration. A carefully sculpted pulse of light, gravity, and rhythm, spreading across local space like a memory surfacing from deep within the galactic subconscious. You don't need to decode it to understand it. You feel it. 3 pulses, just like the first one. Heartbeat, heartbeat, heartbeat. Except this time, it's not subtle, not hidden in the Oort cloud or whispered through dying satellites. It's deliberate, bold, louder. A reply. Elian watches the signal unfurl, hands clasped behind his back, posture straight like a man attending his own funeral and enjoying the catering. This will confuse them, he says softly. You nod. It already confused me. He chuckles. That's the point. They're expecting answers, not echoes. We're giving them dissonance. That's how humans survive. We leave them wondering. You step toward the display. Kepler relays incoming traffic. Alerts before you even ask. The signal is being noticed. Council relay stations. Merchant traffic. One rogue Telnari probe that immediately reverses direction. Response time? You ask. Kepler replies, estimate 3 to 6 hours for first diplomatic query, 12 hours for threat designation by outer ring factions, 2 days before someone sends a scout. Elian nods appreciatively. See? We're still teaching them how to panic efficiently. You look at him sideways. Why now? He turns serious. Because silence has a half-life. The room goes still. We weren't meant to be gone forever. Just long enough for the power, balance to tilt. For absence to become weight. For memory to become myth. You sip the last of your tea. So this is the next phase. He nods. Phase 2. You think about that. The implications. The timing. The staggering patience of it all. While the galaxy danced and fought and negotiated over what humans meant, Earth had been waiting, holding its breath. And now it's exhaling. Kepler, you say, analyze harmonic structure of the broadcast. Does it encode data? A pause. Yes. Partial semantic resonance, highly abstract. Consistent with Terran poetic formatting. Likely designed to be interpreted rather than decoded. You smirk. They sent poetry? Elian grins. Not poetry. Presence. You watch the waveform expand, a silent shockwave through diplomatic space. It doesn't demand anything, it doesn't apologize. It simply is. And the galaxy, ever paranoid, ever thirsty for intent, won't be able to stand that. You tap into public feeds. Already subspace news relays are igniting. Theories flood in. Earth is back. Earth is angry. Earth is testing a new weapon. Earth never left. A dozen systems initiate internal security sweeps. 2 open public mourning forums, just in case it's a memorial. You turn back to Elian. So what's our job now? Just stand here and glow? He shakes his head. You go back. You blink. To where? Earth's gone. Not Earth, Ambassador, he says. The galaxy. You walk among them. Listen. Speak when it hurts. Say nothing when it matters. You be the silence now. You feel it then, like gravity settling into your bones. You are the echo. You're not here to convince. You're here to confuse. To carry that steady, unshakable nothingness that makes every conversation tilt off its axis. You start to laugh. You know, I was supposed to just hand out trade agreements. You still are. Elian shrugs. Just not the kind anyone can sign. A soft alert hums. Kepler speaks up again. Incoming diplomatic burst from Council Node 9. Message reads, clarify Earth's intent or be declared non-cooperative under Treaty Accord 17 Echo. You smile, teeth bared, send a reply. Content? You think for a moment, then you say 3 pulses, nothing more. Kepler obeys. Elian chuckles under his breath. You're going to make a lot of enemies. You nod. Hopefully. Outside, the stars are still there. Watching. Waiting. Listening. And now, wondering. Some galactic historians argue that the loudest message is the one that doesn't explain itself. That in a universe addicted to meaning, meaninglessness is a weapon. And Earth has turned ambiguity into art. You leave the Ghost Fleet behind. Not because you're finished, but because you finally started. Back aboard Vireo, Kepler resumes standard flight protocols, though you can tell even the AI is processing. It doesn't comment on the 3-pulse message. Doesn't critique the lack of clarity. Just carries on like a very polite co-conspirator. As you drift through trade lanes, you notice it immediately. The change. Ships pause longer before passing you. Scans linger on your transponder. For just a moment too long, station dockmasters hesitate before sending the clearance codes. You are no longer just a human ambassador. You are now a question the galaxy doesn't know how to ask, which is useful. In the following days, you become an unintentional magnet. Low-level envoys from half a dozen species accidentally run into you. They ask harmless questions about weather systems on Earth, grain yields, oxygen saturation levels, all things they could have looked up 2 months ago, back when Earth still answered. They want something from you. They want to know what silence means. You give them nothing. Sometimes you nod. Sometimes you shrug. Once, you answered with a riddle about a fish who stopped swimming and was mistaken for extinct. That one made it into a council briefing document. Kepler tracked it. You've become folklore. You stop at a neutral research moon, a quiet place known for its planetary archive domes and slightly overcooked lentil soup. The librarian, an Andari with crystalline antennae and a reputation for finishing other people's sentences, pulls you aside. She brings you to a chamber marked Obsolete Anthropologies. I think this belongs to you, she says. It's a data fragment, unindexed, corrupted by stellar interference. But Kepler starts unraveling it instantly. A voice breaks through. Not Voss, not Elian, your own, but younger. Recorded on a channel you don't remember using. If anyone finds this, I hope you never have to explain Earth to anyone. It was never just one thing. It was too loud, too bright, too painful, but sometimes I think the only honest thing we ever did was stop. You stare at the screen, stunned. Kepler confirms the file's authenticity. Time-stamped 7 years ago. Origin, Earthside Diplomatic Corps, Emergency Training Session 17. You don't remember saying those words, but you remember the feeling, the growing weight of negotiation fatigue, the way Earth had become a bargaining chip in every conversation, the way your own people had started flinching every time another trade partner referred to them as resource-rich. That file wasn't an accident. It was placed, planted. Another seed. Are we all part of the message? You murmur. Kepler doesn't answer, but the librarian tilts her head, those crystalline antennae catching faint echoes of your voice. You think Earth left the council because it was tired? She asks, gently. No, you say. It left because it was tired of being understood the wrong way. Later, back on your ship, Kepler notifies you of a restricted channel request encrypted, high level, untraceable. You let it through. A grainy image resolves, An alien face stares back, tall, eyeless, covered in sleek, dark skin that catches light, like oil. Council species, highly respected, known for speaking only in consensus-approved phrases. But this one? It speaks alone. Ambassador. I have heard the silence. I find it intolerable. I do not speak for the council here. I speak for myself. You nod slowly. Go on. We feared your words, now we fear your absence. I ask you plainly, is Earth preparing for war? You lean forward. No. A pause. Then what is it preparing for? You smile. We're preparing to be misunderstood. The screen goes dark. Some galactic historians argue that the worst fear of an empire is not attack, but uncertainty. Not knowing if the absence is temporary, not knowing if it's personal, and above all, not knowing if the silence knows more than you do. You've never been famous, not in the celebrity way, but now your face appears on more news feeds than any planetary head of state. Not with approval, not with condemnation, just curiosity. The titles shift depending on the source. Theolog, human, Earth's mouthpiece, ambassador of absence, the whisper walker. One even calls you the librarian of the end, which you admit is a better nickname than most of your old call signs. And yet through all of it, you still haven't seen Earth. Not once since the silence began. Until now. You're passing through the edge of a dead trade zone, taking a route you wouldn't have dared 6 months ago when Kepler pings you with a new anomaly. Gravitational distortion detected, it says. Local signature inconsistent with any known celestial object. You frown. Show me. A swirl appears on the screen. Subtle, like the residue of something massive that used to be there. Like the imprint of a planet that was removed. Coordinates? You ask. Kepler pauses. Then, Earth. You stare at the screen. Empty space. Not even debris. Kepler. You whisper. Is Earth gone? Negative, Kepler says. Mass shadow present, cloaking consistent with large-scale gravitational redirection field. You blink. It's hiding. Affirmative. Earth has not been destroyed. It has been displaced, spectrally veiled. A slow breath escapes your lungs. So the planet didn't just vanish. It moved out of perception. You steer Vireo closer. At first it's like flying through nothing. A vast, untouched silence, but then your sensors begin to hum. Just slightly. Like they know something your eyes can't. And then, there it is. Not visual, not audible, but present. A pressure behind your ears. A soft tremor in your bones. You've returned. You still can't see Earth, but you feel it. Like a ghost standing behind you in an empty room. Kepler, you ask, voice barely above a whisper. Is this field permeable? Partially. Requires genetic and neural recognition. A pause. You are cleared. Your heart stops for a second. Just you. Earth left everyone else out and wrote you in. You don't need permission. You're already part of the passcode. As you float forward, the sensors stutter once, then catch hold. A sudden shimmer cuts through. The void. Light bending around nothing, then coalescing. And there it is. Earth. Not damaged. Not invaded. Whole. Clouds moving. Oceans breathing. Cities. Dim. But still there. Like a heart at rest. You don't descend. You don't dock. You just watch. For a long, long time. Why? You ask aloud, not expecting an answer. But you get one. A quiet tone. No language. Just warmth, somehow translated across systems and frequencies and instincts. And a message. We never left. You just stopped listening the right way. Your throat tightens. Why me? Another pulse. Because you paused before speaking. You let the silence wash over you. Again and again. Not empty now. Not cold. Just honest. You remember Elian's face, Voss's voice, the librarian's crystal antennas. They were all pieces, echoes, and you are the resonance chamber. Some galactic historians argue whether Earth was ever really there to begin with, or whether it was a dream species conjured by an unstable young galaxy. But if they could feel this, just for 1 second, they'd understand Earth didn't disappear, it refused to be simplified. You don't land, you don't knock, you simply drift. Because some doors aren't meant to be reopened, just remembered. After a while, Kepler suggests softly, "Ambassador, shall we maintain current distance or initiate departure?" You hesitate. 1 more minute, another heartbeat, another breath taken in orbit around the only home you've ever known. You imagine the world below, cities powered down but intact, forests left to grow wild, oceans untethered by shipping lanes or climate negotiations. Planet not asleep, just listening back. Departure, you say. But mark the coordinates. Already done, Kepler replies. You ease the ship back into the currents of deep space, watching as Earth once again folds itself out of sight. Not disappearing, just declining to be watched. And you? You carry that image with you. Earth, as myth, as symbol, as sanctuary cloaked in its own quietness. Your next destination is a council relic, an ancient archive satellite in orbit around a failed colony star. It houses the galaxy's largest collection of diplomatic artifacts. A fitting place to stir the waters, you bring Vireo into low orbit. This satellite doesn't require appointments, it just watches and waits. Like you. Inside the visitor's chamber, you find what you're looking for. A plinth marked Terran entries, obsolete. Most of the records have been deprecated, misfiled, a few even labeled theoretical. You sit down and begin inserting your copies. Logs from Harkon, recordings from Sigma Vega, Elian's pulse broadcast, Voss's whisper, even the librarian's quote. One by one, you restore them, not for recognition, but for resonance. You leave no commentary, no footnotes, just a simple tag. Updated by request of the silence. You're about to leave when you notice someone's been here recently. A small note, left physically tucked behind the display. The more you speak, the less they hear. The less you say, the more they wonder. No signature, but the ink is Terran. Of course it is. You return to the ship and resume your path. Kepler speaks as the engines hum back to life. Ambassador, council chatter has increased. Several factions now debate whether Earth's silence is a provocation. Of course they do, you murmur. They never believed we were capable of restraint. You flip through the news. A dozen op-eds speculate that Earth has built a weapon. A few claim Earth has transcended. One fringe theory proposes that Earth never existed at all, and humans were a council myth designed to justify trade tariffs. You snort at that one. Some galactic historians say the great power of humanity was not its technology, or its wars, or even its adaptability, but its refusal to stay in one narrative. You switch off the feed. Kepler, send a message. To whom? Anyone listening. What shall I say? You think for a long time. Then, 3 pulses. There's a pause. Message sent. The signal leaves the ship and vanishes into the quiet. And somewhere out there, it will reach someone who won't understand it. Not at first, but it will echo. Because that's what silence does. It waits. And it teaches. And it shapes the space around it. The stars grow quieter the deeper you go. Not because sound fades in vacuum, it was never there to begin with. But because meaning starts to thin out when you travel beyond where maps get drawn. Here at the edge of the Perseid drift, there are no lanes, no patrols, just stray signals bouncing off ancient debris and the low hum of background radiation older than most galaxies. It's the perfect place to be forgotten. And still, you're found. You detect the signal before Kepler does. Not by sensors, by instinct. A soft pressure on the side of your consciousness like a name you've forgotten that suddenly whispers itself into your mind. Kepler, you murmur. Run a wide spectrum sweep. Look for pattern anomalies. Seconds pass. Then, confirmed. Unscheduled transmission. Deep harmonic structure. Directional. Approaching us. A message. But not from Earth. From someone who learned Earth's method. You play it. The screen flickers. No image. Just a pattern of pulses. Not in threes, in sevens, 7 long tones, 7 soft intervals, then silence. Kepler, you ask. Signal structure mimics Earth pulse broadcasting, but linguistic patterns are non-human, likely a hybrid. You lean forward. Someone copied us? Someone answered. You check the origin. It's from a small moon in a system, marked uninhabitable, resource class D. Officially, no one lives there, so you head there, because that's what you do now. Follow the quiet until it becomes something else. The moon is barely more than rock and regret. Thin atmosphere, no surface, structures, but beneath it, a station, old, half-buried, and broadcasting nothing except that 7-beat pattern every 6 hours. You dock, suit up, and descend through the hatch. Inside, air stale, but breathable. Lights flicker to life one by one, as if your footsteps are the activation code, and at the core of the station, something impossible. A council species, one of the old ones. A Nothari. Transparent skin, tri-folded limbs, and a vocal structure that relies more on bioluminescent pulses than sound. It's meditating, or sleeping, or pretending to. You step forward slowly. Its skin ripples, lights blooming across its torso in soft amber. Waves. Translation appears on your wrist console. You carry the silence. You nod. Yes. We heard the pulse. We followed it. It was disorienting. Beautiful. You lower your voice. It wasn't meant to convert anyone. We are not converted. We are curious. You have taught a new form of speech. You sit across from it. The room hums with quiet resonance, the kind that builds over time like music that hasn't found its melody yet. Do you know what the silence means? You ask. The Nothari tilts its head. We know what it asks. That catches you off guard. Which is? Will you listen, even when nothing is said? You smile. That's the right question. They aren't followers. They aren't threats. They're learning. You spend the rest of the cycle there. No negotiations. No declarations. Just sitting in silence, sometimes sharing recorded pulses, sometimes listening to their version of quiet. Layered lights and low vibrations that bloom across the walls like breathing stone. When you leave, the Nothari walks you back to your ship. As the hatch seals, it transmits one final pulse. 3 beats. Then 4 more. Not mimicry. Continuation. Some galactic historians argue that influence is measured by territory, by alliances, by economic reach. But perhaps it's better measured by what survives without enforcement. Earth's silence is growing roots, not in dominance, but in resonance. As Vireo drifts back into the starfield, you realize something simple and strange. The message has stopped being Earth's. Now it belongs to the ones who heard it. You never set out to start a movement. Movements require manifestos, banners, speeches. All you ever sent was silence. And yet here you are, gliding into a quiet system where a half-dozen ships already orbit a brown dwarf sun like monks around a candle. None of them broadcast. None of them hail you. But they all pulse. Not in threes, not in sevens. Each uses their own rhythm now, adapted, evolved. One pulses in fives, another in paired intervals that mimic binary star rotations. A third echoes your original 3 but slowed almost like a sigh. Kepler confirms it before you can even ask. These ships are independently owned, civilian class, no planetary affiliation, non-aligned, but all share signal structure derived from Earth pulse. You've heard whispers in recent council chatter, phrases like echo pilots, the pulse fringe, even quietists. The galaxy is listening, and it's responding, but not how the council expected, not with protest, not with resistance, with imitation, with reinterpretation, with curiosity. As you maneuver into orbit, one of the ships, a sleek insectoid craft clearly not of human design, drifts alongside Vireo. Its lights shimmer. No standard docking protocol, no weapons visible, and then a pulse. 7 soft bursts, then a pause, then 3 more. It's saying hello. You reply with 3. Just 3. A pause. Then across the local band a message appears, purely visual, no words, just an image, Earth. But not current Earth, not the cloaked, spectral world you visited. This one is drawn. Hand-sketched, lines rough, exaggerated continents, vibrant oceans. The kind of picture a child might make when trying to remember something they've only ever seen once. You stare at it, and then it hits you. These people aren't trying to find Earth. They're trying to remember how it felt. That's what the silence became, a myth, a memory, a mirror. Kepler, you say softly, record everything. For the archive? It asks. You nod. For them, the ones who'll ask what came after the silence. Because you know now, there's no going back. No great return. No planetary celebration where Earth drops its cloak and waves flags again. This was never about retreat, it was about transformation. Earth didn't vanish, it turned itself into a question. And you're the punctuation mark that walks between the stars, carrying the only answer that matters. You don't always need to be heard to be understood. Some galactic historians still argue over whether Earth's silence was strategy, protest, surrender, or something else entirely. But in the glow of this brown dwarf with ships circling like prayer beads, you see it clearly. It was an invitation to speak differently, to listen deeper, to mean more with less. You watch the other. Vessels drift, silent, pulsing, alive. And for once in all your travels, you say nothing at all. And so now, traveler, we drift. The signal has been sent, the silence has been shaped, and somewhere in the spaces between systems and suns, something gentle unfolds, not with fireworks or fanfare, but with a pulse, a pause, and a breath too quiet for most to notice. You are still aboard Vireo, its hum steady, lights dimmed, cocooned, in the hush of deep space. The stars beyond are patient, unhurried. They've seen every kind of empire rise and fade, every scream lost in the vacuum, but they've never seen this. Not a war, not a sermon, just silence, with weight. You float, past old trade routes and forgotten beacons, each one a relic of noise, and behind you echoes bloom like ripples, pilots pulsing their own rhythms, species experimenting with stillness, historians unsure how to write about a message that was never spoken. There is no great ending here, only a gentle understanding that sometimes the bravest thing a world can do is stop speaking and wait to be heard in the silence. The galaxy may never fully understand what Earth meant by its absence. That's part of the beauty. Meaning, after all, was never meant to be pinned down like an insect on a slide. It was meant to be lived and remembered. You sip the last of your tea, systems on standby, nothing chasing you for once. Just stars. Just space. Just the long, soft echo of a world that chose to walk away, not to disappear, but to become myth. Now lower your eyes. Let the hum of the ship blend into the breath of the stars, and sleep well, traveler. The silence will carry you home.